Hello, my name is Meg and I am the yarn dyer behind Megs & Co. And you are watching my October vlog series and you are never going to believe what I finished. Today is Monday, October 13th, and it is also the week of New York State Sheep and Wool. It is the big East Coast Wool Festival that happens in the fall down in Rhinebeck, New York, and it is expected to be a little chilly and perfect sweater weather, which means I am going to need to pack all of my sweaters. And guess what? I finished it. My Bergman sweater. I started this, I think I started it either in like May or June. I'm honestly not really sure, but I definitely started it like last spring-ish time. And I thought I had started it with plenty of time, that I wouldn't have to rush and I could just slowly work on it all summer long, but I kept putting it down for other things and putting it aside. And once again, came down to 3 days before I jump in my car to head downstate. So anyway, it is done. It is done. I finished it last night. It has not been blocked. So this is actually my first official try on. I didn't even try it on last night. I just finished it and it was pretty late. So I just went right to bed. So I have not blocked it. I've not even sewn in any ends yet. Normally I will weave in all of my ends and I just don't snip them. And then I block it, and I like that blocking process kind of really helps to get those ends settled into their place, and I find that it kind of locks them into their place a little bit better. But I really want to get this blocking tonight so that it's good and dry, so that I can pack it. So I'm probably going to block it as is and potentially weave in these ends while I'm in my Airbnb, or I might just have to hide them and sew them in at a later date. But here we are. It is done. I'm so excited. So yeah, this is definitely pre-block. I'm hoping that the yoke will kind of open up and bloom a little bit, but I am pleased there isn't too much puckering. I do kind of wish that I had made the body just a skosh longer. I mean, it's fine, like these pants are pretty high-waisted, so like I can wear them with pants like this, but it is just a little shorter than I guess what I was hoping for. But I don't know, I had tried it on before I did the hem, and for whatever reason I thought it was just a little bit longer. Blocking should give it just a little bit more length, but this is non-superwash wool, so it's going to bloom and full, and the fabric is it's going to settle and relax, but it really shouldn't grow too much. It shouldn't behave too much like a superwash wool that grows and kind of loses its shape a little bit, but it should definitely, you know, kind of relax and give me just a little bit more length. And then same with the sleeves. So I definitely wanted like a nice bracelet length sleeve so that, you know, I can wear like a watch or something and it's just not all like up in my business. But I am hoping that the sleeves will kind of relax and come down like 1 inch, but it's actually kind of perfect of where I like them. So super happy with this. It's very warm. I'm already just super warm and cozy. Oh my gosh, I'm like almost too warm, which is perfect because the weather in Rhinebeck is going to be like low 60s midday, and it's going to be potentially even as cold as like upper 30s in the evenings and in the mornings. So yeah, we're definitely gonna need maybe even some coats. We're gonna need some shawls. We're gonna need some mittens and hats. So I am going to go pull out all of my stuff, and I think I'm gonna start packing today, because especially if I need to kind of block anything else that's been sitting all season long, I want to do that tonight. So I'm gonna go give this one a good block. So blocking is just a fancy way of saying that you're essentially washing your garment or your knitted or crocheted piece, and then you are setting it up. Usually you set it up on like sponge mats or something. You can just lay it out on a table, whatever surface works best for you. And you're essentially just laying it out in the shape that you want the finished object to be. If you're working with any kind of lace, a lot of times you'll pin out that lace to really open up the holes. For shawls, I like to pin out my shawls as well so that they're pinned in that particular shape that you want them. For sweaters and garments, I don't really pin them out unless I have like a shape issue that I'm trying to fix with blocking. I know a lot of times, you hear the term blocking fixes everything. You shouldn't really depend on blocking to fix everything, but sometimes you can use blocking to help you. I liken it to like setting your wet hair. You can use that wet wool to then kind of mold it into something that's a little bit more desirable. Also, what happens with the blocking is it's just going to relax and even out all of your stitches. So, any of that tension we've been pulling, we've been tugging, and it's going to wet them and let them dry and relax and kind of all come to the same shape and size all together. And it really does help to make a flat fabric, especially with color work. And sometimes too, if I'm noticing that my color work is puckering, I have a little bit here, but it's not so bad. Sometimes I will pin out those sections just to stretch if like I did have some issues with floats being too much. So the first part of blocking is to just get it wet. And I always feel like this is the part that can really make or break your knits. So always follow good washing rules. So, you always have to pay attention to, what colors are in this. And if you've used very strong contrasting colors, brights with whites, you might want to test mixing those colors together before you just throw it into water. Because the worst thing is to knit an entire garment and then those colors bleed together and mix. And, even the best hand-dyed object, they still conform to the rules of laundry. There's still just a little bit of that residual dye, especially because it's the very first wash. I know usually like you bring home a pair of jeans, that first wash, you get a lot of that blue dye out. So it's the same thing. It doesn't mean that it was improperly dyed or it's not washed fast or there's something wrong with it. It's just sometimes there can still just be a little bit of that extra residual unbound loose dye that's still hanging out. And so you just don't want that to float and spread to any of those lighter areas. And a lot of times our very bright, vivid colors, from a chemical perspective, those dyes are always just a little bit of a weaker bond. Red, the red molecule, the turquoise, like those, they're a very large molecule and it's just very easy for them to get knocked off. So one of the ways that we can prevent that is by using cold water. Depending on the mineral content of your water, that plays a huge role. You can add a little touch of acid to your water. So just like a little splash of vinegar just to make sure that your water is a little bit more acidic versus basic. If you, depending on the mineral content of your water, if you have any kind of basic leaning water, so a high pH, you are going to definitely want to do something to lower the pH of your water a little bit. A lot of times having dye coming out of your garments can just simply be the pH of your water. All of my yarns are washed until the water's running clear, but my water is not the same as your water. So the mineral content of your water could be pulling out dyes that my water did not pull out. So adding just a little bit of vinegar, or if you have some citric acid, it's just white odorless powder that you can order on Amazon. Just a little bit to your water, just to give it, just to knock that pH down just a little bit, and then using the cold water. So then I use some wool safe washes. I like to use Eucalan. I got a sample of this that I've been really liking from Unicorn Wash. So I'm going to use this because I had opened it the other day to wash my skeins. So using like a lukewarm to a hotter water will help the water to penetrate the wool a lot better. And it can also, if you have a very dirty garment, so maybe you wore like some lotion or got deodorant on it, it can help to get rid of any kind of oily type stains. So, you know, sometimes you will hear the recommendation to use warmer water, but I would only do that if you know that you're going to be safe from color mixing. So for mine, I've got two pretty low contrast colors. So I actually made like a lukewarm bath. So if I have any color seeping, I'm not really going to worry about it because the two colors aren't really going to like, you know, run into each other, but I just want to get some good penetration of the water. So let me turn the camera here. So you just want to gently push the item into the water. This is a non-superwash wool, so this wool has not been treated to be heat resistant or felt resistant. It's just natural wool. So I just want to be careful once it is wet that I'm not agitating it around, especially if I were to use a hot water. This is very kind of room temperature lukewarm water, so I'm not too worried about that. But I just want to make sure that it's just fully wet. So I'm just pushing it down into the water. You can see air bubbles coming out because wool is going to want to float. It is great at resisting water and wicking water away from your skin. So a lot of times it will float and want to kind of resist getting wet. So I just push it down and that's it. So I will let it soak for about 15, maybe 20 minutes, and that's kind of the other second important thing with blocking. If you are worried about any color transfer, do not block your knits for more than 20 minutes, a half hour. Don't let it sit in this bath overnight. The longer it's in the water, the more time that those dyes have to release and move to an area that you don't want them to. A lot of times, you know, when I hear, you know, in different chats or whatnot of, you know, I blocked this and the color moved somewhere and stained, you know, a stripe in my garment, what do I do? Or, you know, how did this happen? And, you know, one of the questions I always ask, well, how long was it in the water? And they're like, well, it was overnight. Well, you've created a tea. And so you just want to make sure that you're not giving the dye any opportunity to dislodge from your fabric and move to an area that you don't want it to. Again, it shouldn't. I'm looking at this, the water is still clear, we're good to go, and in 20 minutes, everything should be good. But yeah, especially that very first wash, you just don't want to ruin all your good work. So like I said, I'm gonna let this sit for just about 20 minutes. And then I'm gonna squeeze out all the water, and I'm just gonna lay it flat. I'm just gonna kind of position it into a torso shape, but I'm not gonna pin it out or anything. I am gonna examine that yoke to just make sure that there aren't any areas that are puckering. If I do see puckering, I'll probably like pull on them. But that's really all the shaping that I plan to do. So it's been about 45 minutes. So I am going to just very carefully lift it up like a little baby. And I'm actually going to put it in my spin dryer. If you don't have a spin dryer, you can lay it flat on a towel and then roll the towel to squeeze as much water as you can and spend lots and lots of time gently squeezing just to get out all of that excess water. And you want to be very careful when you pick this up. You don't want to pick it up in a way that is going to cause any piece of it to stretch or pull. So like I pick it up like it's a little baby, all in one piece. And you can see my dye bath, nice and clear. So I'm just going to put that in my spin dryer. Let that spit out. It's amazing how much water comes out of this. Look at it. Okay, so it's pretty dry. I mean, it's definitely wet, but it's pretty dry. So I'm going to just give that yolk piece just a little bit of a tug. But other than tugging on that color work, I really don't want to tug anything else because I don't want anything to lose its shape or to stretch or get weird, especially any ribbing sections. My blocking mats, they are from, I've had these for a while, they are from Knit Picks, which I think is now Knit Pro. But you can use any of these like foam tiles. The one thing to be cautious of is if you use the colored ones that you can get for like children's playrooms, just be careful that sometimes the color can transfer, so make sure that you test those out. I know like these white ones that are meant for blocking are a little expensive for what they are when you can get the colored ones for so much cheaper. But I have heard of those color ones transferring color, so sometimes just paying for these white ones is worth it when you've put in all that work. But you can just lay down a towel if you don't have these. What these are most useful for is that if you are going to pin any of your work out, this gives you a surface that you can pin into. But I'm not going to pin today, so I'm just going to lay this down. I'm just going to lay this down just in its body shape. I'm going to keep the body part of it, you know, loose because I don't want that to stretch or pull, but I am just going to kind of knead down this bottom color work section just so that that gets all nice and flat. And then same thing for this top. If I see any spots that are puckering, there's just one little spot here that's a little tight, but it's okay. Every sweater gets better, right? So I'm just gonna pull that down, and same thing with the sleeves. I don't want to like pull them or anything. If you did like need the sleeves longer, you know, you can give them a little bit of a tug. That's really all I want to do. I mean, same thing like, you know, if you did want that body to be a little bit longer. But I just don't like pulling on the fabric because then it starts getting a weird shape. So it's really just working out those areas that you just need those stitches to lie flat. Oh, I'm so happy with this. And I feel like even these pucker sections, they're not bad. And once it's on your body, no one's gonna see, no one's gonna know. actually are flattening out quite nice. Just kind of gently kneading and pulling the stitches to try to loosen up any of those tight floats that are causing this puckering. Just see if I can move that tension somewhere else so that puckering goes away. Check the back. Oh, the back looks great. Okay, that looks good. And I have a fan down here, so I just like to turn this on just to get some air circulating. And that's it. She's blocked. So I hope that you found that useful. If there's ever any other special techniques or tips that you are interested in learning about, please let me know in the comments. You know, sometimes it's the simplest little things that we do every single day and we forget, you know, those things that really took a long time to learn when you were a beginner. And I would just love to share as much as I can with you. I'd also love to know, are you going to Rhinebeck? I don't know if I'm actually going to get this posted in time for Rhinebeck. I feel like I'm about 5 days behind with the posting at this point, but if you are going or you did go, put in the comments as well, and hopefully we can see each other there. So with that, I'm going to sign off until tomorrow. My name is Meg, and yeah, this is my YouTube channel, which I think you have figured out by now. You can find me on Instagram at megsandco_yarn, and I don't normally do daily vlogs like this, but for October, I took quite a bit of time off on the YouTubes, so for October, I am kicking things off with a nice month-long vlog series. So yeah, probably after Rhinebeck, I will resume back with the normal sit down, talk about my projects, that kind of a thing. Unless you prefer this style, let me know that too. What's better, little snippets here and there, or you know, or do you prefer the more formal sit down and chat style? So anyway, until next time,